Before we get into the details of these pizza brands, please pause this video and drop the name of your go-to pizza brand in the comments. We are looking at 10 pizza brands in Australia, 8 that you should avoid, and 2 that are actually worth your money. Brand number 1, Domino's Australia. Domino's is the biggest name in Australian pizza, controlling roughly a quarter of the entire national market. But its size has come with some serious baggage. The chain has faced one of the largest wage theft scandals in Australian fast food history. In 2019, law firm Phi Finney McDonald filed a class action alleging that Domino's had instructed its Australian franchisees to pay delivery drivers and in-store staff under outdated enterprise bargaining agreements instead of the Fast Food Industry Award, which offered better minimum pay, casual loading, penalty rates, and delivery allowances. The claim covered workers employed between June 2013 and January 2018, and was estimated to affect more than 55,000 current and former employees. Individual stories from the case are striking. One former driver, a temporary migrant worker from India who worked across 3 Melbourne stores, said he was paid a flat rate as low as $12.40 an hour with a small delivery top-up, when award wages should have entitled him to closer to $25 an hour on nights and weekends. He estimated he was personally underpaid by around $20,000 over 2 years. Industry analysts at the time calculated that by paying staff under the old agreements rather than the award, Domino's franchise network may have been saving in the order of $30 million a year in wage costs. Domino's has strongly disputed the allegations, maintaining that store-level pay was governed by valid enterprise agreements at the time, and that all stores moved on to award conditions once those agreements were terminated in January 2018. The case has continued through the federal court, with Domino's unsuccessfully attempting to have parts of it struck out. The litigation itself has been funded by a third-party litigation funder, meaning affected drivers and in-store workers weren't required to pay legal costs up front, and the case has been described as one of the largest employee class actions ever brought in Australia. Regardless of how the courts ultimately rule, the sheer scale of the allegations, tens of thousands of workers across a 5-year period, has done real damage to the brand's reputation among younger, socially conscious consumers who increasingly care about how the businesses they buy from treat their staff. Beyond the wage issues, there have been long-standing concerns about the transparency of the marketing fund that franchisees are required to pay into, with some franchisees questioning exactly how those advertising dollars are spent and how much of it actually flows back into local store support. On the customer side, complaints about shrinkflation have become increasingly common in recent years. Smaller pizzas, thinner topping coverage, more empty space around the edge of the base, and prices that have crept up well ahead of general inflation. For a brand that built its identity on being the affordable, reliable, everyday pizza option, that steady erosion of value has left a lot of long-time customers feeling like they're paying more for noticeably less than they used to get. Brand number 2, Pizza Hut Australia. Pizza Hut's Australian arm has one of the most turbulent corporate histories in local fast food. In 2014, the company introduced its controversial value strategy, slashing menu prices, in an attempt to compete more aggressively with Domino's. The problem was that franchisees were expected to absorb the cost, and many say the cheaper pricing made their individual stores unprofitable almost overnight. The backlash culminated in a class action brought by close to 200 franchisees, who argued the strategy was rolled out without proper consultation and effectively forced them to trade at a loss just to stay competitive. That financial squeeze had knock-on effects on quality. With margins crushed, many franchisees reportedly cut corners wherever they could. Cheaper cheese blends, smaller topping quantities, and less consistent food prep standards from store to store. Today, customers frequently complain about a processed cheese blend that doesn't melt or stretch the way a proper mozzarella should, along with toppings that taste artificial and are spread thinly across the base rather than reaching the crust. Complaints about long delivery times and understaffed stores are also common, which many put down to the same cost pressures that triggered the original franchisee revolt. Pizza Hut Australia has since changed hands more than once. It spent a period under the ownership of turnaround specialist Allegro Funds, which took over the struggling local business and closed a number of underperforming stores while attempting to rebuild the brand's positioning. More recently, US-based Flynn Restaurant Group, one of the largest restaurant franchise operators in America, has taken an ownership stake in the Australian business. Despite the change of hands, the inconsistency between individual stores, some genuinely solid, others clearly cutting corners, has remained a common thread in customer reviews, and the brand still hasn't fully recovered the standing it had before the 2014 value strategy fallout. Brand number 3. Eagle Boys. Eagle Boys is the cautionary tale of Australian pizza. Founded in 1987 by Tom Potter, who started with a single store in Albury after being unemployed at 23, the chain grew rapidly and became the third largest pizza brand in the country, eventually reaching around 340 stores at its peak and holding close to 5% of the national market. In 2007, Potter sold his stake to private equity firm NBC Capital, which took an 85% shareholding and pushed for aggressive growth ahead of a planned stock exchange listing. That's where things started to unravel. Under private equity ownership, the brand reportedly increased prices, cut back on advertising spend, and paid little attention to its relationship with franchisees, all while an intense price war with Domino's and Pizza Hut eroded margins across the sector. Around 30 franchisees, some of whom had already gone bankrupt, began preparing legal action against head office over the direction of the business. By 2016, Eagle Boys was placed into voluntary administration, owing creditors approximately $30 million, having already shed roughly half its store network in the preceding 2 years. Consumer research at the time showed its customer base had shrunk from around 850,000 regular diners in 2012 to just 336,000 by 2016. Even as the overall pizza-buying public grew. The brand never found a clear identity between the cut-price mass market dominated by Domino's and the gourmet space carved out by chains like Crust, and it never invested in the kind of ordering technology and delivery tracking apps that helped Domino's pull further ahead during the same period. Founder Tom Potter later said he'd been blocked from stepping back in to help once it became clear the business was struggling, and he publicly blamed the private equity ownership model for loading the chain with debt it could never realistically service, drawing comparisons at the time to the collapse of retailer Dick Smith under similar debt-funded private equity ownership. Eagle Boys was ultimately absorbed into Pizza Hut, with more than 50 former Eagle Boys stores across Australia and New Zealand converted into Pizza Hut outlets, officially bringing an end to the brand. Potter himself later returned to the pizza business on a much smaller scale, launching a new chain called Pizza Guardians in Toowoomba, built around the lessons learned from watching his original company collapse under someone else's management. Brand number 4. Crust Pizza. Crust built its reputation as the gourmet, higher-end delivery option in Australian pizza, known for premium toppings and a more restaurant-style experience than the mass-market chains. That reputation took a hit after the brand was folded into the Retail Food Group (RFG) portfolio. RFG has been the subject of extensive scrutiny from the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission over how it treats its franchisees across its various brands, including allegations of unconscionable conduct, restrictive and unfair supply agreements that forced franchisees to buy ingredients through RFG-approved suppliers at inflated prices, and marketing fund fees that franchisees say delivered little in return. Several current and former RFG franchisees across its brand portfolio have spoken publicly about being pushed toward financial collapse by the cost structure imposed from head office. For Crust specifically, this has translated into a premium price point that no longer consistently matches the premium experience customers remember, with quality varying significantly from store to store depending on how much financial pressure that particular franchisee is under. Some Crust franchisees have described feeling locked into a supply chain that limits their ability to source cheaper or higher quality ingredients independently, which makes it very difficult for an individual store owner to improve their product even if they want to. The gap between what Crust used to represent, genuinely gourmet, made-to-order pizza, and the more variable, corporatized experience many customers report today is exactly why it's on this list. Brand number 5, McCain Classic Range, Frozen. Moving into the supermarket freezer aisle, McCain's Classic Range is a budget frozen pizza option that consistently draws criticism from reviewers and everyday shoppers alike. The crust is a frequent target of complaints, often described as tasting more like cardboard or reheated bread than a properly proofed pizza dough. The cheese is a processed blend that tends to separate or turn rubbery rather than achieving that stretchy, golden brown melt people expect from a good pizza. Perhaps the most common frustration is the gap between the glossy, appetizing packaging photography and what actually comes out of the oven. A mismatch that leaves a lot of buyers feeling misled, especially given the box promises a restaurant-style result. As an entry-level, low-price option, it does the job of filling a hungry stomach, but it rarely satisfies anyone looking for a genuinely enjoyable pizza night. Brand number 6, Woolworths Essentials / home brand frozen pizzas. At the very bottom of the supermarket price tier sit the Woolworths Essentials style home brand frozen pizzas. These are built to hit a rock-bottom price point, and it shows. To compensate for cheap, low-quality base ingredients, these pizzas tend to lean heavily on sodium and processed fillers for flavor. The dough frequently comes out soggy or overly dense after baking, never developing the crispness a good crust needs, while the cheese topping is often described as rubbery and lacking the flavor or stretch of a real melted cheese. For shoppers on a tight budget, these can be a functional last resort, but they are rarely described as an enjoyable meal in their own right, and they're a good example of how a rock-bottom price point almost always comes at the cost of ingredient quality once you get past the packaging. Brand number 7, Coles Smart Buy / Budget Frozen Range. Coles' equivalent budget range suffers from many of the same issues as its Woolworths counterpart. These pizzas are engineered purely around price, which means toppings are sparse, and the base often ends up with a spongy, almost foam-like texture, rather than developing any real crispiness in the oven. Reviewers frequently describe the end result as being closer to cheese on toast than an actual pizza, and while it fills a gap for the absolute cheapest possible dinner, it's rarely anyone's pick when quality is the priority. If you're comparing these against the McCain or Woolworths equivalents, most shoppers report they land in roughly the same territory: cheap, filling, and forgettable. Brand number 8, Pizza Capers. Also sitting under the retail food group umbrella alongside crust, Pizza Capers has seen a marked decline in both its store footprint and its standing with consumers over the past decade. The brand markets itself on gourmet, premium ingredients, and correspondingly premium pricing. But many customers say the in-store experience no longer lives up to that positioning. Inconsistent topping quality, variable cooking standards, and prices that feel steep relative to what actually turns up in the box. Like crust, its position within the RFG franchise model, with its associated ACT scrutiny over franchisee treatment and supply arrangements, has been linked by industry commentators to the broader decline in consistency across RFG-owned brands. The store count has shrunk noticeably compared to its peak, and in many regional areas the brand has quietly disappeared altogether, replaced by independents or by the bigger national chains. Brand number 9, Dr. Oetker Ristorante. Now, for the two brands actually worth your money. Dr. Oetker's Ristorante range is widely regarded as the benchmark for supermarket frozen pizza in Australia, and it's not hard to see why. The crust is genuinely thin and crisps up properly in a home oven, closer to a real thin crust pizzeria base than anything else you'll find in the freezer aisle. The cheese and topping quality is a clear step above the budget and mid-tier competition, doing a much better job of mimicking an actual restaurant-style pizza rather than a reheated approximation of one. If a fresh pizzeria isn't an option, and you're stuck shopping the frozen aisle, this is consistently the most reliable pick. It's usually priced a notch above the McCain and home brand ranges, but reviewers and everyday shoppers alike tend to agree the difference in bake quality, cheese melt, and overall flavor more than justifies the extra couple of dollars. Brand number 10, your local independent pizzeria. And the best pizza experience in Australia, hands down, comes from supporting a good local independent pizzeria. A quick search on Google Maps for pizzerias with high, recent ratings near you can point you toward places that actually care about fresh dough, quality ingredients, and proper technique, rather than relying on the industrial shortcuts that keep the big national chains cheap and consistent at scale. Fresh dough made simply from flour, water, and salt, given time to properly ferment and develop flavor, offers a taste and texture that mass-produced, factory-made bases just can't replicate, no matter how good the marketing photography looks. Supporting these smaller businesses means you're getting a pizza made with genuine care, not one engineered purely for factory efficiency and shelf life. It also means your money is far more likely to stay in your local community, supporting a small business owner directly, rather than flowing up through a franchise fee structure to a head office, or in some cases, an overseas private equity fund. Yes, it might cost a couple of dollars more than a large chain's discount deal, and yes, it might take a little longer to arrive, but for most people, the difference in taste and quality is immediately obvious from the very first bite. If this information helped you, please take a moment to hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find this video and avoid these pitfalls. Make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell, because we're diving into a different supermarket aisle every single week to uncover the truth about what's actually in your shopping trolley. If there's a specific brand you want investigated next, drop it in the comments below. I read every one of them, and your suggestions drive our future content. Don't forget to share this video with your family, your group chats, or anyone who keeps ordering that same disappointing Friday night pizza out of habit. You might just save them from their next bad dinner. Thank you for watching, stay informed, and check those labels before you head to the checkout.